All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Let's go ahead and get into the week 4 core play. Now, guys, unfortunately, if you guys watched the first video, the first look video, as you should have, great stuff there. It's not going to be too different, okay? Like for quarterback, I do think we want to be looking at really one of these 3 players right here: Brock Purdy, Russell Wilson, or Matthew Stafford, if Jimmy G is ruled out. You could go with Brian Hoyer. I would say that's a little bit more of a GPP play, a little bit more of a stacking opportunity if Jimmy G is ruled out. If Jimmy G is active, he makes for a great GPP play, makes for a great cash play, makes for a great play that you want to be going out of your way to use. We know that the Chargers really are not good defensively against the pass or against the run as well. Like Josh Jacobs could have a good game, but Jimmy G is going to be my favorite play here. If he sits, I would rather pay up for Russell Wilson, then Matthew Stafford, then Brock Purdy. Okay, not a big edge here or there, but not bad. Also worth calling out, and I'm not going to be playing him. Value-wise, though, could be someone you're looking at. DTR, if Deshaun Watson is ruled out. He looked good in the preseason. I'm not saying he's going to play well, but something fun to watch. Now, quite clearly, we know that Christian McCaffrey should be treated as a core play. It's just whether or not you can afford him. And that's the biggest question mark. Can you fit him into your builds? I would say, given the way that the slate is breaking down, we're going to have some really good receiver value. Let's try to fit CMC into our builds. The only slate worry I would have is, well, maybe 2, I guess. The Cardinals do what they did to Dallas again. I don't see that happening, but 2 would be the fact that it is a blowout and his work share gets limited again, and maybe even a little bit more this game, because I would still say the amount of opportunities he's getting are a little bit too high, and that's why we're seeing a little bit more of Elijah Mitchell. So still want to be going out of our way to play CMC. Gonna have good game script, positive game script for him. And then from there, I'm still struggling. Like Kyron Williams makes a lot of sense going against the Indianapolis Colts. This is a team that you can pass the football on, and we saw the last 2 weeks he's had 10 and 17 targets and 19 targets total. I mean, we would take that from a bunch of receivers. Tack on the fact that he's going to get around 14 to maybe 10 rushing attempts, around maybe 10 fantasy points in the rushing game if he gets a touchdown. Obviously, like, he has high touchdown upside. It's super intriguing for a guy that's playing that many snaps. And we could say the exact same thing for Zach Moss as well. Like, an extremely good play if he's going to be playing that many snaps. Now, last week, his snap share was down a little bit. That's because he was in and out of the lineup, nursing a little bit of a stinger, I guess, during the game. But those two, just with how many snaps they're going to play, I just want to be targeting them because there should be safety there. Now, I do want to call it as well, Alexander Madison looked so much better last week. And now he gets a really good matchup going against the Carolina Panthers. Like, that is their weakness. And we just saw him be able to take advantage of a soft matchup. He was getting a lot of hate for not doing well against Tampa and Philly. Those were good rush defenses. So this is the difficult part, because I feel like we are getting 3 really cheap running back plays that are going to be workhorses, like almost guaranteed. It does make it more difficult to pay up for CMC. That being said, Jerome Ford at a cheap price tag, he's also an interesting click. So, like, for this video purposes, I'm just going to put Madison in there. I want you guys to all know, if you can pay up for CMC, if you can figure out a way to do that, do that. I'm putting those guys in there because it's less obvious that those are guys that are going to be good plays. Up from there, receiver wise, I do think Devontae Adams is just going to be like plain and simple, just an easy plug and play. Once again, whether or not you can fit him into your builds. I think if you're playing Jimmy G, though, you want to be playing Devontae Adams. The target's insane, right? Like 20 last week, 8 and 9. We love that. We know this is going to be, knock on wood, this should be a very stackable game, and Devontae Adams should be almost a lock, honestly, to get 20 points. Then you got Keenan Allen as well. He's looking like a strong play. Jamar Chase, price is a little bit lower than it would have been if that game was not a primetime game. Gets a phenomenal matchup there against the Tennessee Titans. It is tough for me to imagine him not having a good game. We know that game against Cleveland, a rainy game, still managed 9.1 points. The game against Baltimore, a little bit tougher of a matchup. It just seemed like a lot of weird stuff going on in that game as well. And then that game against Los Angeles, I feel like that was a little bit of a correction, but given the matchup against the Tennessee Titans, like I do expect him to really have a good game as well. So, like, those 3, if we're paying up for a receiver, I want to be getting at least one of those. If we can fit all 3 of them, by all means, we'd want to do that. But if not, we are getting some really, really good value. I would say Puka Nacua still at a good price tag. T. Higgins is going to be a good GPP play. I don't get the pricing on Amari Cooper. He has been a stud. I know the matchup with Baltimore is a little bit more difficult this week as opposed to Pittsburgh and Tennessee like he saw the previous 2 weeks. Still, he's getting targeted heavily. He's been highly productive. That should be a safe play. We could go a little bit cheaper, though. Yeah, Tutu Atwell there. Jacoby Myers, I absolutely love. I mean, he's getting targeted heavily as well, like 10 and 12 targets thus far. Has really looked the part. The thing with Jacoby Myers that has led to a little bit higher production than expected is that he's not operating out of the slot as much. He's actually operating a little bit more outside. So you're seeing his ADOT go up a little bit. So that is very intriguing for me as well. I think we want to be playing Jacoby Myers. And then other receivers, like we're still getting Cortland Sutton at a cheap price tag. Nico Collins, I like his price tag on. Michael Thomas should be a safe play. A lot of people are going to be going this route though. And I don't know if I disagree or agree with it. Let's just talk about it. One, Tank Dell is still very cheap. I want to call that out. Very cheap there. Adam Thielen. And I need to call attention to this because I think it is the correct play. He's mentioned that he's highly motivated to play well as well. Like he views this as his Super Bowl. As a Packers fan, I could make some sort of sad Minnesota Viking joke there. I just will choose not to do that. But Thielen has looked really good the past 2 weeks. Really, really good last week. I'm not just saying that because the stats showed that. Like he was in his bag. Like his footwork was phenomenal. He made a defender fall on a route in which he didn't even get the ball. Sadly, it would have been a highlight if he did get the ball there. But really impressive. My biggest worry with like this sort of narrative is, it's a revenge game. It's a perfect spot for him. He just went off and he's clearly too cheap. Those are all true. Let's make that very clear. But he's going against Minnesota Vikings, his former team. If there is a team that knows his tendencies, I would assume it's them, right? And maybe there's a reason why they let him go. I'm more so going to be probably overweight on Adam Thielen than I am underweight. I just wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't have as big of a game as everyone's expecting. And then the other core play is going to be Josh Palmer. I like the play a lot. 7 targets last week. And we saw in the past when Mike Williams or Keenan Allen has left the field and Joshua Palmer has need to be the number 2, he has stepped up and been highly productive doing that. And given this price tag, it's tough for me to imagine him not at least 2xing, but he really should be able to 3x, especially given this matchup. Like this is, you guys are going to see that I'm on, and we might have to go off of one of the running backs here. See that I'm on Jimmy G, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and Joshua Palmer. You're like, oh, that's more of a GPP build, huh? I don't really see it that way. Like, it's just the way it works out. I'm trying to make the best build possible with the best plays. And then from there, guys, I am sort of struggling at tight end. I typically always punt. And with Logan Thomas looking like he's going to be active, I'm not sure exactly what to do because I was thinking we were going to play Cole Turner. Now, maybe potentially a good sneaky play at the tight end position with Irv Smith still out is going to be one of these Cincinnati Bengals tight ends. The one that we probably all love in a pass-heavy script is going to be Tanner Hudson. He has proven to us that he has the talent to be a good pass catcher in this league during the preseason. Feel bad for the people that don't play preseason DFS. He's the GOAT, at least at the tight end position. Dominates all the time. But I kind of hinted we could see Tanner Hudson, like he's a good receiving talent, more replaceable for that Irv Smith type. I was actually shocked how much we saw him. And man, in a matchup against the Titans where it should be easy to pass, I kind of like Tanner Hudson. I'm kind of defaulting to that. Obviously don't love the 45% snaps. Wish that was a little bit higher, but it is looking like the correct move. Ogankwu could be a decent play as well. He's been someone that's been playing a lot, should have more production there with Treylon Burks out. Maybe he gets a little bit more action his way, just like a cheap play. Troutman against the Bears should be a decent play, although that Broncos offense has just been strange. Parham Jr. got a lot of snaps as well, but the production was a little bit fluky. There's just a lot of what I would call shoulder shrug plays, and that's kind of why I'm just punting to tight end. Defensively, guys, I don't really ever give out a core play for defense. They're the last that you should be worried about. I always just put in the lowest price defense on the slate, and then if I have salary left over at the end of my build, then I'll adjust that. So like I said, if you can afford to fit CMC into your build, by all means go ahead and do that. We can do that here in this specific build. We can fit CMC in there, and then the tough part is that we still have a lot of money left over. You could just bump up from Tanner Hudson and maybe even try to fit in TJ Hawkinson. Then obviously we'd have to go down from CMC to maybe another running back that we want to be on, whether that's Kyron or whatnot. You can do that, and then you have too much salary left over. You're paying up for defense, and we don't love that too much. That's the difficult part of this slate is we almost have too much salary left over. But that's going to be all for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Hoping you guys all have a really good week this week. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing. Oh, if you guys want access to any NFL DFS tools, make sure to be clicking the link in the description below, 9to5sports.com.